Hmm. So he is 6'9". What you're describing sounds like a small forward, but being 6'9", 200 pounds, he kind of has the frame to play a power forward, at least in the NBA. Where do you think he would fit in on this roster where we have KJ at the three, Sohan at the four at this point in time?
So this is such an interesting question, Ethan. I'm glad you mentioned this because this is the first thing I was thinking of. We just made that clip about Scoot Henderson on Scoot's fit and essay. So I was like, okay,
Hmm.
what is the fit for Brandon Miller on this team going to be? But before I get into that, I want to answer and touch on some other things that you said. So you
Hmm.
mentioned just like his fit overall and potentially, having the frame to be a four in the NBA. I think that he definitely has the potential to be that. He's got a 7-foot wingspan as well,
Hmm.
which really helps with length at the four in that way. As of right now, when it comes to his a comparison body wise, I'm not saying player wise right now. I'm just saying body wise. It's very similar to KD because he's really, he's skinnier right now, but he's still got the height. He may not be 6'10 like KD, but he's still 6'9. So very similar build, a little bit skinnier, wiry, only 200 pounds right now. But I think that his frame, he's got broad shoulders. So I feel like he has the frame to put on a little bit more muscle than KD could. Very similar to Devin. Obviously he's a little bit taller, but a similar frame like that, where he's got the frame to still put on some muscle to really be a true stretch four. Like maybe over, the next 4 years, if he can gain 20 pounds of muscle, then you're 6'9", 220. That's a pretty good frame for a modern four in the NBA.
Hmm. So in
Was there anything I
college,
missed there
no, that
before
that
we
was the
start?
question. Yeah,
Okay,
that was the
gotcha.
question. Yeah. So
Oh, well,
in
no, how he
college,
fits with the Spurs. Sorry, I
oh
knew we
yeah,
were forgetting something
you're
because
good.
this is the
Next
part I was
to
excited about. So, one of the things that we've talked about, um, just since the season has winded down and just, speculating on the potential lineups for the future of the Spurs, what we're going to do. If Brandon Miller ends up going to the Spurs, I don't know. I don't want to guarantee anything because you just never know with Pop and these guys, and who knows what they'd end up doing. But this is, if you're going to move Sohan to point guard, this is someone who you could just, okay, draft him. There's your starting lineup. Um,
mm,
because you can plug him in at the four. And the thing that also works out there, Ethan, is Sohan can still play the four on defense. So any questions that you have about Brandon Miller's frame, like, okay, maybe he's not, he's coming in 6'9", 200 pounds, kind of a KD like frame, like I mentioned. Maybe, the one thing that could definitely happen to him at the four in the NBA is get bullied a little bit in the post. Well, you can remedy that. Maybe you even have him guard the two if you want Keldon to still guard the three because his physicality is a little bit more up to snuff in the NBA. And then in that situation, it's like
mm,
you've got a 6'9" dude guarding a two guard, which is a mismatch in itself. So obviously that's one specific scenario. Another thing that I thought of too, just, if the Spurs are like, hey, we're drafting best player available, we end up getting number 3 in the lottery, Victor and Scoot go, and they just, I know there's all this smoke I mentioned earlier about the Thompson twins, but if they really are just like, as they normally are, best player available, and, they did their research and they feel comfortable with the legal situation and they take him at number 3, I mean, maybe another situation could be that you move Devin to the 1. I know that sounds crazy right now, but he has the playmaking ability. If you want the best 5 out there, and it's like Brandon Miller's not going to be a backup. He's just not. Like, he's going to be a starter moving forward. And if you want to dive into his potential more later, we can do that too. But I think two potential lineups for the Spurs if they draft Brandon Miller. Maybe he's not a starter right away, but I mean, Sohan was a starter last year. So I feel like he would be. And eventually he's going to get into that role regardless. But Devin Vassell, Keldon Johnson, Brandon Miller, Jeremy Sohan, Zach Collins, or Jeremy Sohan, Devin Vassell, Keldon Johnson, Brandon Miller, Zach Collins. But really, it's all kind of interchangeable because once again, if that is the scenario, they're still probably going to play Sohan at the 4 on defense.
mm. Yeah, it's a quandrum. It's a quandrum
Yeah,
because like really the only perfect fit is probably Scoot Henderson as far as team need.
right.
Everyone else kind of plays a position that's sort of already taken, but in this era of positionless basketball, it's like you're right. Take the best player available, and if you think that's Brandon Miller, Jude, I'll trust you. You're the NBA draft expert. But
For
but you
today.
touched on
Hey,
yeah for
but
today.
another thing just on his fit when you're talking about it, he's kind of an easy fit anywhere. I know he's
Mhm.
6'9", but because of the fact that he can play make and shoot off. Like, he's coming in with catch and shoot ability. He's going to be, maybe there's some defensive struggles he'll have to go through, even though he still looks like a pretty solid defender, which we can dive into. But the
Mhm.
main thing, like, I feel very confident he's going to come in and be able to shoot, which is going to kind of make it easy for him to just play off of anybody, you know.